Welcome back to the Industry Brief. Today, we want to talk about Xbox and the fall of Xbox, the demise of Xbox.
The possible phoenix from the ashes. Like, honestly, nobody
possible
knows.
rise. Yeah, it could be the
Yeah.
possible rise of Xbox. So not negative necessarily. It could be. But yeah, I mean, what, Spencer? What are your thoughts on this?
So, like, if you've been living under a rock or haven't heard, so Phil Spencer is retiring. Now, Phil Spencer has been synonymous with Xbox gaming since he took over in 2014. So there was the disastrous launch of the Xbox One. It was trying to be an everything product. It was actually trying to be a product that was like a not a gaming product.
It's an entertainment platform.
It was like, yeah, it was like an entertaining platform. Yeah, right. It was like a set top box. It was like an Apple TV type of thing. Mm-hmm. And it just fell flat. And then Phil Spencer came in and really kind of saved Xbox. He did a lot of good stuff in his tenure. Okay, so he did a lot of huge acquisitions. So they got Activision Blizzard. Who else did they acquire during that time?
Bethesda.
Bethesda.
Minecraft.
Mm-hmm.
So ZeniMax is actually what they acquired, which is Bethesda. Right. They acquired Activision Blizzard. They acquired Minecraft. I think those are the biggest.
Those are the big ones. Those are big ones. I mean, biggest gaming acquisitions in history. But like, so they those were the acquisitions. So he built up the Xbox like Studios portfolio, first parties. The Series X and S are, especially the Series X, they're actually really good consoles. Like,
no, he was all about accessibility. He brought in, like, I have the Series S, which is nothing crazy, but it's like it plays the games. It was cheap, especially at the time, right? Like,
yep.
I mean, bad branding.
Yeah, right. I mean, he did a really good job kind of like saving Xbox from the brink. He also was at the head of backwards compatibility, which is now like an industry standard, basically.
Yeah. Crossplay,
cloud gaming.
So a lot of the stuff that we take for granted in gaming, I think, was pushed by Phil Spencer. So you got to give him that love.
And what's interesting is that people kind of have a little bit of a bittersweetness with his exit, because he was very beloved in many ways. I mean, he was a gamer. You can search his P3 gamer tag and people be like, oh, Phil's playing this on the weekends. I mean, he played games, and it was nice to kind of feel like there was somebody that was a fellow consumer at the top. And he did all of those good things, like you said, these almost staples in the industry now that we kind of take for granted. But near the end, stuff started getting a little weird. Started making some weird choices. The culmination, I would say, of that, what is going on, was this is an Xbox campaign.
And that's been the feeling, I think, for the past year, right? And this is an Xbox. I think a lot of it was out of Phil's control. And so much about Xbox that people know, but I don't think we realize. Phil has a boss. He's the boss of Xbox, so we view him as the top dog, right? Because it's like, oh, he's the head of Xbox, therefore he has final decision. Not the case at all. He is the bridge between the Xbox brand and the Microsoft. And so he had bosses that weren't in gaming, that had certain requirements and criteria that I believed they don't understand gaming, by the way, right? They viewed gaming as, I would say, like more of a software, more of an, a hardware software. I don't know, but they view it as like not an entertainment product, not an entertainment industry, but as a product, software, hardware industry, which is very different. And so
are there certain things you're thinking about that were kind of like red flags of like, I don't think Phil's in control here, or that this is
100%. Like I always say, Hi-Fi Rush, Tango game, or Tango.
Yeah, Tango. Yeah.
Tango. Yeah, Tango.
Tango
That to me
Gameworks.
is
Yeah.
the best example. And I say that because to applaud them and then fire and then to completely cut them.
Yeah.
Just think about like he is a media man. He knows what to say to make sure it
Hmm.
doesn't come back and bite him in the butt. Like there's no way you sit there and you applaud a studio and then like a month or two later you can them. Like that to me is
Yeah.
that feels out of control. A lot of the stuff that he's talking about with Game Pass and not wanting to raise prices and then there's certain layoffs. There's a lot of things that just like feels out of his control. And I say that because dude's got a pulse on what's happening and things kept
Hmm.
and so I that's more of from a lot of the articles and a lot of the stuff I've been reading. It's like with Bungie, and I remember doing so much research on the Bungie stuff, and it's the same thing. There was like they would fight Microsoft tooth and nail, right? Not Xbox. It was oftentimes it was the head of Microsoft. They were fighting them,
Yeah.
and it was just and so that's I almost feel like he's the middleman, right? Like, and I say that I'm not
And
trying to defend Phil. There's obviously there's certain choices he probably made that were poor. Don't
yeah.
misunderstand. But that's how I view him, and that's why I go back to why do I think he's retiring? Dude, I think he's tired, right? I think he's
Yeah.
done. Like I would be. Like middlemaning is hard, especially when you're the
Yeah.
face.
Well, especially because I mean, like, you're compensated well, right? You're compensated, $10 million estimated, total compensation, and um, you have to meet certain criteria that do come from the top, and I bet a bunch of those not necessarily coming from the CEO, Nadella. I think
Yeah.
there's probably more financial targets coming from the CFO. The more you're talking about it, I was like, yeah, I think a lot of the financial decisions definitely reeked of uh, corporate interference. So some of those large layoffs, I mean, we knew that something was going to happen with the Activision Blizzard,
Deal.
collapsing into Microsoft, right? But
There's going to be some,
there's going to be some restructuring and some layoffs
but
and
most of that
consolidation.
restructuring wasn't happening amongst that company. It wasn't Blizzard. It
Hmm.
wasn't Activision. It wasn't the King. It was all these smaller studios. Which, by the way, those aren't like they're not making huge financial impacts. You just spent $69 billion, right? Okay,
Right.
like it is all financial. It's little financial games is what was being played because like overall the money, not that much money is being saved with those layoffs relative, but it then becomes human capital are the biggest costs
Hmm.
and it's the best way to like increase margin. That's all
Yeah.
that is. Like how do you crank up and make numbers look pretty? Fire some humans.
Yeah, it's true. That's like reduce some costs, right?
Sad reality, but that's like so that's so much of that. And so that yeah.
But there's another piece of this, right? So the bottom line is that Phil did so much good early on in his career,
And he took on a sinking ship, by the way. I
and
think people don't
he did
realize
take
that.
on a sinking ship, and he righted it for the most part. And he did I think the best that he could for a while. When Sarah Bond became president of Xbox, I thought stuff kind of shifted.
Hmm.
There's an interesting article from Tom Warren, um, where he's looking into the shakeup, right? And he talks about a couple of different things that are kind of interesting. He's saying that Nadella, the CEO, and Amy Hood, the CFO, didn't agree, in sort of who should take the reins.
Hmm.
I think Amy Hood was pushing for Bond, and she
Interesting.
didn't. Bond didn't get the job, and so
No,
then
and she actually steps down.
yeah, she's out. And it's actually, I don't know if she's just being painted as a fall guy, but a lot of what people are saying, at least from Tom Warren's sources, saying people are relieved that she's gone, that she was kind of hard to work with.
Really?
Yeah, interesting. And I think the thing that struck me as most interesting is that she worked really hard to maintain her internal and external image to appear as a gamer,
Hmm.
which is like antithetical to like the opposite of what Phil is, right? Phil is authentically a gamer, and then it was like Sarah was cosplaying as one.
I can't give an opinion on that. That's always hard because it's like so. Then, but that's what people are saying internally. So to be clear, internal people were saying this to Tom Warren about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I want to make sure. So that's
Yes.
and did he say anything about Asha? Asha,
So
sorry, I'm
so
butchering her name, but
yeah, her Sharma, Asha Sharma.
Asha Sharma.
So I guess like the thing is that the leak, Phil's retirement was always planned. It's been planned for a year,
I saw
but
that. Like he's been planning it for the past year,
yeah,
which again is
I mean,
indicative of a lot of these choices of that past year feel like they were out of his control.
hmm and maybe that's the thing is that Phil can't really come and like if there's friction between CEO and CFO, and they each kind of have their person
Yeah.
that they're that can get just super tiring. And Phil's been there for 38 years. Like he's been an intern. He started it when he was 20, right? So I mean, like the guy's like, maybe it's just time to move on. Honestly, I'm curious to see what he does next. Like if he starts a game studio or something. I mean, he's only 58, so
Yeah, I doubt it. Making games is one thing. People think like running. He was not making games. He was middleman between big guys and a
and everyone
huge
else.
company, right? Like there's a
Yeah,
Xbox as a brand is very different than Xbox, as a games
that's true.
publisher,
But
right?
he has a personal fortune,
Yeah.
and he could raise some money if it was a Phil Spencer back studio. I mean, he isn't necessarily, I mean, he could do something like that. Okay, so but let's go back to this Bond situation. So the issue with Sarah Bond is that the Xbox Everywhere strategy, or that this is an Xbox campaign, that
Yeah.
was reported by Tom Warren. That was Sarah's brainchild.
Hmm.
So because the head of marketing left, and so now the marketing team was reporting directly to Sarah Bond,
It
and
was a
that was a
finance. Yeah, who's
mhm.
not a marketer. Yeah.
Yeah, and so then she launches this time to everything's an Xbox, and it was very strange because it confused a lot of people. Tom Warren reports that it offended many employees internally, Xbox employees internally,
Hmm.
because I mean the weird takeaway message was you don't need to buy an Xbox.
Yeah, it's in the it was cannibalism, right? In the
Yeah.
pursuit of accessibility, it was destroying a vitally important arm of Xbox, which is I feel like Xbox was the console. That's how people associated. So
hmm
yeah,
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 and and Tom Warren has a great line here. He says, um, I understand that Bond's strategy had been failing internally. Talking about, and let me read the previous paragraph actually. I
Can
wrote
you
Tom.
share your screen?
Oh yeah,
A lot of people see it.
yeah, yeah. Let me see it. Okay, so yeah, let me highlight this for you. Okay, so I wrote in December 2024 that Bond had staked her career reputation on the idea of Xbox being everywhere across multiple platforms and devices. This also involved carefully managing her image both internally and externally, making her appear to be a gamer like Phil Spencer. In reality, she wasn't. I understand that Bond's strategy has been failing internally and had been questioned multiple times. Bond tried to push mobile and cloud over console to reach potentially millions more Xbox customers, but the result has been a classic case of chasing tomorrow's customers by neglecting today's.
Which I can see if you're CFO, you see the numbers. Mobile makes up 50%, right,
Right.
of revenue in gaming.
hmm
People do not understand how ridiculous that is, right? Like half of gaming is mobile. So if
hmm
you are the CFO and your job is to increase the amount of money that flows in, I, you can almost see all the things click. It's like we want to be on mobile, right? We want to
Yeah.
make games that now millions more, tens of millions, billions of people can have
And you
access
did
to.
acquire King,
And you acquired King, which
so
yeah, and so I can see, I can totally see the logic. But it's misunderstanding the brand, which you wouldn't do if you actually played games. I think if you understood the console, maybe you don't make that mistake.
do you resonate or do you agree with Tom that it was essentially chasing tomorrow's customers while neglecting today's?
It's an interesting way to put it, and I don't disagree. I don't think it's chasing tomorrow's customers. I think it's chasing, they could still be today's customers. You just got to understand the customer behavior. Gamers, console gamers are different than PC gamers, which are different than mobile gamers.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of overlap, right? And I'm trying to think about that because it's not, the issue I have with it isn't necessarily even in the strategy, but in the positioning. Does that make sense? I don't have an I don't have an issue with the strategy of Game Pass and where you can play your games anywhere. Does that make sense? Like that
Yeah.
strategy, it was the messaging. Xbox is everywhere, right? What was exactly was the line?
Yeah, this is an Xbox.
This
Xbox
okay,
everywhere. It's like yeah, and
that's
they
the problem. It is
yeah.
not an Xbox. This is not an Xbox, but like it
Mm-hmm.
should be. And I think that's the mistake. And it's like same thing with Halo coming to PlayStation. I still am like, there is zero incentive to buy an Xbox.
Yes, and the thing is, it's it's classic syndrome, right? I mean, it's like if everything's an Xbox, then nothing is, right?
Always.
So the issue is, and Asha actually commented on this in an interview that she did with Jez Gordon, where she's like, Xbox players have invested thousands of dollars, both in time and money, into this platform, and that
Yes.
is absolutely true. Like, I own the OG Xbox. I can go onto my profile and I can see what I played in the 360 era. Um,
I'm pretty
you
sure my
know,
Xbox. Where's it? Oh, there it is.
you got
Right
a
there.
PS.
There's my
Yeah, there it is. Right.
there's my
So like,
360.
yeah, and it's like every I developed some brand loyalty to that. Mainly a PC gamer, but I I have my Xbox still, and I like being able to transfer between PC and Xbox, but I did put a lot of money into that platform. Um,
Sure.
and Halo was a big reason for me of like why I did that. And so I think I don't even necessarily disagree with the death of its exclusivity, particularly for multiplayer games that were struggling to find populations. Like, just expand it. Like, let's get
Sure.
the populations. But coupling that with the everything's an Xbox, so nothing's an Xbox, it just screamed, we do not care about console gamers anymore. Like, you bought into this, you bought the ticket for this ride, and like, we're just gonna cancel your reservation. Like, you know
I think there's a difference, right? Like the positioning and messaging. That's why I use those words. I felt like they were positioning in a way with Xbox Series S and X, and they're positioning in a way of like playing on PC, where they were in the crossplay. We want you to experience Xbox your way. And then I think with the change in the past few years, with the Xbox is everything, right? Xbox is
hmm
everywhere. It felt like the messaging went from like, you are Xbox. Xbox is this really core, good brand that is just trying to make games more accessible, to,
hmm
dude, we're not a console maker. We're not even like a, and that's why everyone was calling it, it's Microsoft Gaming, not Xbox. And so I do agree. I think her choice in doing that, and there's subtleties, right? People don't understand marketing has subtleties. That what I just said, positioning versus messaging, is so different. What you understand internally and how that gets conveyed externally is so different. And oftentimes people that aren't in that don't get that. Engineers, finance, like they do not understand there's a difference, right? And it's like you have to convey, and there has to be, brand is feel, brand is perception, right?
Mhm.
And so what was the perception? And so I think that even goes to what's going on now. I think all this, the reason why I say that, what is happening now, the perception is negative that
Yeah.
Phil is leaving, right? Like, what have you seen? Is that seems like that?
So, I think initially, yes. Despite like the bad things that had happened, it was so like Phil himself, I thought was very likable, and I think most people did like him. And
Most, I think, no, have at least a feeling that he is
right,
this scapegoat, is almost like he feels like he's this bridge between us and the real corporate.
right. Like that meme of like the soldier like standing over the sleeping kid, and it's like catching like all the grenades and knives and stuff. Yeah, it's like like people gave him flack when stuff would go wrong because who else are you supposed to give flack to? But
Job as CEO.
yeah, it's so it's like, but I think that Phil stepping away was met with oh crap, especially because initially Asha Sharma comes from the AI core part of Microsoft. And that just like when it comes to AI and art, like people's alarm bells freak out. Like they're just,
There's
because
no worse place to come from.
no, yeah, because it's like everybody's algorithms are inundated with AI slop and all sorts of things. Doesn't mean that AI can't be used to make incredible things, but there's a lot of low effort AI crap that just is pushed out. So, that being said though, Jez Corden, I think Jez Corden over at Windows Central, he did an interview with her at Max Booty. And this is
Mm.
actually so Max Booty was the head of Microsoft Game Studios.
Right.
Um,
And he's been there
and
for years.
he's been there for years and he got promoted. And so now it's essentially a two-person team. So you have Asha as the CEO and then Max Booty as chief content officer. Um,
Which I'm assuming he's just going to be overseeing all of the actual game production.
exactly. So he's like in charge of like managing the studios. Now, people have sometimes been critical of him of like basically being too hands off, letting studios kind of spin their wheels and not recognizing lack of direction. Um, but there was an interesting, do you know who Ed Freeze is?
Yeah,
Yeah. So, right. Ed Freeze was
he's
the
the
one of,
old. He's an old dog.
yeah, he's the old Matt Booty. So, so he had a really great quote regarding this change because people were worried about it. And I think one promising thing is Ed's take on this. So he points out that this relationship between Matt Booty and Asha, it reminds him of the relationship between Robbie Bach and himself back in the day. So that they were working there when Halo,
I was
like,
about to say this sounds reminiscent. I know this from the Bungie story. Yep.
yes, yeah, this is the Halo CE guy. And so I was mostly looking down, trying to build the content, build the games. And Robbie was managing Bill and Steve and managing and sales and marketing and stuff like that. So you essentially have this two-man team and you have the one team that's looking upward and dealing with the higher ups,
They're
making sure
dealing with
there's
corporate, trying
yep,
to be that barrier, that
yep,
buffer.
that's right. Kind of making sure that the bills are paid that need to be paid, that money is flowing when it needs to be flowing, and that some of the business stuff is taken care of. And then Ed Freeze was, looking down and dealing mainly with the studios. And the guys from Bungie all had really good stuff to say about Ed Freeze. That they felt like he was their kind of their knight in shining armor, so to speak. That he sort of helped protect them
Mm.
from Microsoft. In fact, when he left, that was a big source of
Well,
issue
I
with the
think
Bungie guys,
Phil.
right?
I quickly was breezing. Phil Spencer has a quote because he says, "When I was quitting Microsoft, I had about 1,200 people who worked for me." So this is Ed Freeze, right? This is
Yep.
so Ed Freeze is saying this. And he says one of them came into my office that day, the day that I was leaving. It was Phil. So he's talking about Phil Spencer, and Phil asked him, "Should I quit too?" And Ed, I guess, goes back and says, "No, you don't need to quit, Phil. I appreciate the loyalty. I think you should stay." So it looks like,
That,
dude, people were super loyal.
yeah, then that says a lot. Like if Phil Spencer, who gamers universally tend to like, um, was willing to quit Microsoft for loyalty to Ed. Um, that says a lot about Ed, and Ed is positive about Asha. He thinks that this new dynamic between um, her being the upward facing and
And
Max Booty
Max.
being the downward, that it's getting back to that core. And he actually goes on to actually address some of the AI issues too. And so it sounds like he played Expedition 33, and he says the question is, how much can AI create those experiences, referring to um, the experiences of that humans can have, right? Producing experiences you can't have anyways. How much can AI create those experiences for ourselves? How much do we need a human being involved in the creative process so it's authentic, so it speaks to us as human beings? That's what people got out of Expedition 33. I know I did. It was an incredible story at its heart, a story about a family grieving their loss expressed through a video game. And that's why it won every Game of the Award this year. It's the best of our medium, and I think it's what we should all aspire to. So Ed's endorsement puts me at like a lot of ease. And at least in his perspective, saying, "Hey, this is reminiscent of what a lot of us view as some of the best years of Xbox." Um,
But
and
how
so,
much of that was, and I hear that, but like the reason, here's my concern, because I hear that and I agree. I think from a structural standpoint, he's referencing that. But like
sure.
from a positioning, where was Microsoft, not Xbox, where was Microsoft positioned in the 2000s, in let's say the late 2000s, when Xbox 360 comes out, phones come out,
Hmm.
what was like the positioning at that time?
I mean, they were the Windows guys, right?
Windows, they actually released their own phone at that time, so it was hardware, App Store,
They tried a
all
lot of consumer products at that time. Yeah.
tons of consumer products, and their only consumer products that were really working were Xbox, right?
Hmm.
Like, and so they took that brand and they said, this is where we want to go, is the entertainment space, right? Like, you remember, dude, Windows, was it Windows 7, Windows 8? It was Windows 8, where it was like the butt ugly
Oh, that was
square interface and all that crap.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But like everything was so focused on App Store and entertainment, and they took the Xbox One, and it was all just, they took their big Microsoft strategy and said, we're going to use Xbox as the hardware, as the medium to get to people. And my worry right now, the company's focus is Gen AI, right? And
Go on.
but that's what, I always butcher his name. Satala.
I just call him Nadella. I can say his last name
Nadella.
easier.
Yeah. So Nadella, dude. That what Nadella is. That's what's being pitched. Right. Is the future is this AI? Like that is how he's thinking about it.
Hmm.
And so then, to me, it's like, are they going to use the Xbox platform as, again, like as a testing ground, as a place for where Microsoft wants to go? Is it
So
just, does that make sense? And so
yeah,
that,
yeah, I understand. So what's interesting, so the one of the original creators of the OG Xbox, he made a kind of audacious claim where he claimed that Xbox would, that this new team, her um, job was to sunset.
and I
Um,
saw that, like,
and the thing is that I don't disagree with this, because you just mentioned all that stuff that they tried. Let's be honest. Um, Xbox is basically Microsoft's last consumer facing brand.
100%. They're not going to sunset Xbox.
No, because if you do that, then they are cut off from the consumer base, and essentially they only exist in the enterprise world. And with all of their
Yes, they have
investment,
Windows, but there's,
yes, yeah. I mean, who markets Windows? You just buy a Windows, yeah, it's PC, right? But it's like, if that link is cut, That's super hard to get back, and nobody really knows what the future of AI is going to look like. And so you don't want to cut off a potential area of customers. And I think AI being involved in gaming is not necessarily a bad thing, because if it's good for the business, ideally it would also be good for us, you
And it's
know.
relative, right? But that's the thing. It's like it wasn't the positioning is the critical piece to this, right? The positioning being focused on entertainment, not gaming in 2013, 2014, during that change in their focus as a big broad company, right? Because that got pushed down from Microsoft. Because it's like we want to become, this is the platform to interface with your TV. Or you got to think about it. Back then, it was all about apps and interface. How do you get this individual, like there's the phone to interface, there's the computer to interface, and there's the TV to interface. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like, and that was, they wanted to be that, the everything. You watch your sports, right? Like this was from streaming sticks. It was before it was really integrated with TVs, right? Like smart TVs weren't as prominent. So like that to me though is a prime example of like Microsoft will use Xbox, and I don't know exactly what that is, but like they're gonna create. I mean, Google is a great example. What was that model they just created where you can create worlds with their AI?
Create
Um,
worlds.
you can literally create like a video game world that you can go explore.
Oh, I heard about that. What was that called?
Uh, Google's video game generator.
But I
Google's
think I know what you're saying in the sense of that
Project
the a
Genie.
genie.
Yeah. So yeah, it's Google's Genie 3. It literally generates AI game. It's like an AI game engine.
So it's like a super advanced procedural generator.
Yeah, and same thing. Like it's like Unreal with AI, and but like I don't know what that is yet and what the impact. But like if you could do that to then generate for, imagine Unreal, they were using it for movies and stuff like that. Like I just, the way I view Microsoft and my assumption is they're going to use it as testing grounds as they
Yeah.
make games, because games oftentimes is the door, because it's this weird spot where entertainment meets um industry, right? Like
Yeah.
entertainment meets, because like entertainment movies and stuff like that, they're not so technical. Video games are like entertainment and technical, and so I feel
Yeah,
like it oftentimes
and
is
they
at the cusp.
push, yeah, and they push like not only software but like software and hardware, kind of like
Totally.
in the same way that like the Avatar movies are essentially James Cameron's method of pushing visual effects, like
Hmm.
financing visual effects development, for
Basically.
Weta, right? Games do that for like a lot of things, and I think that Asha, at least in her interview with Jez, she's recommitting to the return of Xbox. I think that it's going to be a playground for a platform for Microsoft to figure out how they can incorporate hardware and AI. Because let's be honest,
Huh.
like
Huh.
I mean, like hardware accelerated or hardware accelerated AI, or AI that happens locally on machines is going to need very specialized chips. You're going to need a lot of kind of tricks and actually to make it work at a speed that is energy efficient. And gaming is a place where people will drop, eventually $1,000, on a machine, um, like a wide swath of the population will, where you can actually kind of experiment with AI models running locally, say to generate NPC dialogue or something,
For
that
sure.
then they can try to figure out how else to use that. It's just it's too good of a ground to test new things that they're
And
they're not going to walk away from that.
yeah, test new things, and it's, at least have it maybe not be profitable, right? Consoles are always sold at a loss, but like as a way to recoup the cost. I mean, PS3, I always love that example. PS2, even better. I mean, it was banned from selling to certain countries because it was so advanced, and they viewed it as, it was viewed as like tech for warfare, right?
Hmm.
Like consoles are just, they're just good at being at the cusp, at the edge, and they, and I think it's not just because of the tech inside them; it's just how accessible they make it, how the usability.
Yeah,
So I mean, it's like Valve coming out with
the Steam box.
GameCube, yeah, the Steam box,
Yeah, the GameCube. Yeah.
GameCube, but like So I think,
Like, I think that the hardware is going to stick around. Asha at least said as much, that she said, we are recommitting to the hardware, um, which is good. I think that that's a total flip of what the everything's an Xbox. This is an Xbox campaign, right? Recommitting to the hardware is what I think a lot of people wanted to hear. I don't know where she's going
that
to go.
that right there, and there's the skeptic in me.
Yeah,
She knows so little about gaming.
true.
It felt like those are just talking points given to her and saying these are the things that players are worried about. Go
Okay,
say
so
these things.
that's a good point. Okay, so let me read this to you, because um, there was a because she in this interview that they had, I'm not as business savvy and haven't been up in the the corporate world and whatnot as much as you have, and so
Yeah, so my bullcrap meter maybe is a little bit more fine tuned
yeah, it
when it
might be a
comes to
little bit
this,
more
but
fine tuned. And so what she said, let me see if I can find it here. A little bit of a summary for this. Okay, so she focused on a few things. She focused on the return of Xbox. Okay.
do you want to share your screen?
Yes, I just found it. Okay. So she focused on the return of Xbox. My boy Reb's over here. Okay, so um, she focused on the return of Xbox, is talking about that's the spirit. You could read that, and she says that's focused on hardware and the renegade spirit that they were born with. Okay. She's focused on committing to returning to Xbox, and we'll hear more about the soon upcoming announcements. Let's, you know, cautiously optimistic and what that could mean. I would like to hear plans about, a Series Y, like next gen console. You know, she says nothing's off the table when it comes to revisiting the strategy, which basically makes it sound like they are going to be willing to scrap any of Sarah Bond's initiatives.
Yeah, but then you read Matt's at the bottom. Matt cautioned that players shouldn't expect. Oh no,
What? Oh,
uh,
what I press?
where'd it go?
There we go.
Oh, there we go. So that right there, Matt cautioned that players shouldn't expect drastic changes in the near term, but emphasized they plan to re-examine, question everything. It's it's a it's a throw up, right? Like it looks really big, like a
It's like,
big
yeah.
statement from her, and then he comes in and adds like then it's like a bunt. It's like but like don't actually expect anything crazy in the next little bit.
Mm-hmm.
With it's like a disclaimer. So to me, everything that is written is intentional.
Okay, so then if you were to, did you read
And I
Jez's?
read this, yes, because this is the one you sent me.
Yep.
And it's very positive. It was very nice. I thought it was a nice article, and a lot of it was about her wanting to, yes, readdress the hardware, returning to Xbox. Like I'm committed to returning to Xbox, and that starts with the console, right? Like that seemed to be the core focus
Mm-hmm.
here. And so let's just like that's great, but like you were to say, what is people's biggest concern about Xbox? Dude, they feel like it means nothing is nothing, right? And so if that's the concern, what's the best way to address that? It's like, well, we want to come in with the hardware, and because that's the biggest concern. So yeah, I hear, but like she doesn't know that. At least she wouldn't know that intrinsically because she's been in over here in the AI space. Like this is she just comes in. She's probably been debriefed. She's been probably getting into this industry probably for the past few months. There's probably some
Yeah.
the offloading of Phil, onloading of Asha, like bring,
Mm-hmm.
onboarding on Asha. And then it's like, she's probably learning from Phil still now. So it's like, I bet Phil is going, these are like Sarah Bond is out. And I bet Phil is doing all of this training is
Oh yeah.
like, these are the problems. This is what's going on. This is the big talking points, which is, dude,
And we and
nobody's.
we would trust Phil to have his finger on the pulse.
We totally trust Phil to have his finger on the pulse. And I bet he's just like, I mean, he's retiring. He's now just like, dude, these are the things to say to make players feel better, because that article makes me feel better.
It does make me feel better. I mean, at the end of it, there was a poll like, how do you feel? Like, are you optimistic, pessimistic, blah, blah, blah. It was like, of respondents, I think it was like 49%, 46% were optimistic.
But that's
Um,
post reading that article.
Post reading that article, that's my point, is that although it is like it may be pretty words, but let me ask you this. What's the point? Because it wasn't just a single soundbite. Like,
No,
she,
it's fully
she
focused the whole interview. Yeah.
yeah, and she's relatively consistent. Why would they not go this route if this is making her customer base happy? Which she emphasizes we need to cater to the core customer base.
They don't always know who their core customer base is, and that's the critical piece here, is who is the core customer base of Microsoft and of Xbox. Like, who is the core customer base of Xbox in 2013, of 2014? Gamers. Is that who they built to and marketed to?
I mean, but couldn't you just say the people that have already purchased the console are the core customer base that you're serving?
Are the gamers, sure. Yeah, like
Right.
you'd say that's your core customer base, and then they were trying to capture a lot more.
Right.
Was, I guess, the argument. So I think it's more just what you're asking, and again, I understand the devil advocate, and what I'm trying to say here though is it's just like a bull crap. I don't have a lot of logic. It's more just like,
You just said like an intuition.
it's an intuition where I just go,
Um,
this doesn't fly. This doesn't fit, because
what?
it doesn't make sense to me that they bring in this fresh meat, and it's like, dude, she knows nothing about gaming. Like, she's young. It just feels like they're trying to get
She
somebody
does know.
that's.
She does know products, right? Like, she did manage to scale products well at Meta.
But did you read the article? And I really liked it, from Seamus Blackley, the interview with Seamus Blackley.
No, I read this. I read the
You read
sound bite. That was
so the sound bite, but it's like
the
the,
sunsetting one, right?
yeah, this is a sunsetting one, and so let's see, because he makes a statement. It's like Xbox, like a lot of businesses that aren't core AI businesses, being sunsetted, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
I disagree with that, by the way. But
You think they are setting?
no, I
Oh,
disagree
you
with him
disagree with that? Okay, okay,
with
okay. Go
that
ahead.
with that statement.
Gotcha.
I don't think they're going to be sunsetting Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
That just doesn't make sense to me. They don't spend $69 billion and then go sunset the company. And there's tons of other values, as we already talked about. But
Yep.
like, the statement he has is Microsoft is a company that is now about enabling its customers by enabling AI to drive things, right? That's at odds with the art of video games, is kind of what he's trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with so much of what Blakely talks about, and I talk about it in my own videos. Video games are not products. People that are not in video games do not understand this. It is entertainment first. Right? Like, that is such a hard thing for people to understand, because they're so used to like the complex product. Complex products create depth. Depth creates greater value. That's not true with video games. You could create a really simple video game that blows up and is more successful than a really complex game. Does that like
Yeah,
that?
maybe that explains like ballooning AAA budgets and stuff like that.
Yeah, because a lot of people come from products, and that's like, I came from software. I know software, but I also know video games, as I've studied them a ton.
So you
And
kind
that,
of sense the difference there.
I can sense a difference, right? Like, you can make Lethal Company, and that is not a technically. Or what's a better example is
Among Us.
Undertale. Is one of my favorite examples. It is
Oh
such a technically poor game.
yeah, I've heard it's the
It's
code's a little atrocious.
code's atrocious, technically poor, but I mean, artistically simple, beloved, and incredible, and very successful, right? Like that's counterintuitive, right? Because in the product space.
Mm-hmm.
And so that, to me, I think the core point here is, you bring somebody on who understands product. This is not a product business. This is an entertainment business that has technical aspects. And so it's like, I like his example.
Do you think it could work as like Robbie and Ed though?
and it may be right, and that's why I do think that's like the saving grace, which I agree with that statement, which is like you have the guy that knows gaming with Max, and Asha is maybe going to be the
Matt. Matt.
oh yeah, sorry, Matt.
Yeah. You
Have I
said
been saying
Max.
Matt? Yeah.
No,
Have
no,
I?
no. That's the first time.
Oh, I was like, have I been saying Max this whole time? Um, so I
Yeah.
agree with that. But like it's one of those things where it's like, why did they hire her? It feels like they wanted a yes person. They like Phil has just been fighting them.
Hmm.
Is like again, it's like it's one of those things where I like this statement. I can't remember. I think from that same article, but it says the game that Phil had been playing for a long time, managing the beast so that he could continue to try to do the right thing for games. I think that finally just wore him out. It's really hard to do that.
Yeah.
Like I think she's just going to be coming. She's young, she's new, she has to prove herself,
She's got some hungry in her.
and so she's just going to say yes. And I bet Matt is just going to get pummeled.
But I Phil and Nadella worked for a year to try to find a person
Okay, yeah,
to
that's a good
replace
point.
her, and the ills that I've seen, or that from what we can tell, most of the ills in the Xbox came from Amy Hood, the CFO, and Sarah Bond, the president, who was Amy Hood's pick
Yeah,
to inherit
yeah,
it. So it's like it seems to me that like the right people are supporting her, because I know so little about the internal workings here. I
that's a
have
great
to
point, though.
have to go more off of just the word of people that I would rather support. I mean, the AI question of it is the big question mark, and everybody's worried about that. But Matt's on record saying there is no top down pressure from Microsoft. That may be a lie, but earlier, and I think Jez actually pointed this out either later or something, that one of the biggest issues that happened with Xbox in the later years is that their communication and what they did was so at
Yes,
odds
yeah.
that essentially the consumers lost faith in anything they said.
Which is kind of now. I feel like people don't trust the Xbox brand. They don't. I don't
Right.
trust what they're going to say.
Right. And
And I think
so
that's where a lot of this even stems from. You are giving them a lot of grace, which I think most
yeah.
people aren't, which I think is great. But like my bullcrap meter goes off because I've been told one thing and then shown another. And then I just know so many corporate people. And it's like, how do we say something at the turn of news, right? It's at the turn
Mhm.
of events so that we don't have a big firestorm of negative press. Like that's just where my mind goes.
I would agree with that if the same people were still in charge. Not even that I think that Phil was really like a source of a lot of it. It's just that it not a lot is going to change when you have the same people there.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, they're not dumb. They don't want to kill the Xbox brand. The Xbox brand has been really struggling, and they saw that such a negative reaction. I mean, I have to assume that if the incentives align, let's say that okay, incentive A, they want Xbox to survive and thrive. Okay, incentive two, um, they they want to make as much money as possible, right? Okay. Now, if those are aligned, if Xbox thrives because their sales have been plummeting, okay, so the moment that this is an Xbox ad went out, um, Xbox hardware sales just went and started going down. Okay, when Xbox hardware sales go down, your software sales go down. You tend to make a little bit of money on the console by the end of lifetime. Um, and so when they saw the brand dying, they're not making any money, right? And so if then they get a bunch of feedback that's saying, "Hey, this isn't working with our customer base," I don't have a logical reason for saying why they would continue down that path.
It's a great point, and I would even say if you're Phil Spencer, and this is your swan song, right? You're leaving, and it's a great point. And if he's working with
Asha
Asha, but
or Nadella.
Nadella, he's working with Nadella because I think what is important to understand, it's not just Phil stepping down. It's So who's all leaving right now? You got Phil,
and Sarah.
Sarah, it, the
They
president.
had that they had the head of marketing left, and then well, I don't know when this happened, but earlier the head of marketing left while Sarah was still there, and the guy who was basically behind the backwards compatibility.
Gotcha.
So they kind of thinned out, but then it's basically been Sarah and Phil for a long time. And I think that Phil basically has been dealing with the trying to sort out the acquisition and letting Sarah run the Xbox brand.
Which, so I think, and I do think that that is a mistake I'm making here. Is I'm viewing so much on Phil, but like if you are Phil, and I have a very positive view of Phil, and I'll continue to have that because I know a lot of people put down on him, but I really do think he was like, I feel like he's that soldier in the meme getting
Yeah,
pounded.
yeah,
Like, and so it feels like he would have been, to your point, like, get this girl. She's probably hungry. She's maybe she has good, good moral compass. Feels like maybe she doesn't know. Yeah, maybe she doesn't know the industry, but like she's willing, and they partnered her with Matt, right?
hmm
And so I can see that, and feels like, look, this is the way to do it.
yeah. And it feels like a PR rebrand,
Yeah,
right? Where it's like you strip out the old, similar to what they did with 343 Studios.
yeah.
You strip out all the old, like you kind of rename things, because when you say, hey, we went down this path, it didn't work, so we need to pivot, but we need to chop some heads first and present them to the French Revolution and say, okay,
It
we
feels that
killed.
way. Gaming is that way.
Oh
We got
yeah, dude, it's like we killed the people responsible. Yeah, we're all free now. Okay, but so once we have Sarah's head on a pike, and and Phil's gone, and we buried him in a grave, and we're all happy about that. I think it's
a couple
easier for
people
people to,
dance on his grave. A couple people are
right,
not happy.
leave flowers, right?
Leaf flowers. Yeah,
It's easier for people to believe that there is a new leaf being overturned.
yeah.
And I just now the I think that they're going to start making better choices about hardware. I think their communication about hardware is going to be better. I think they may start to reconsider. I don't know if the pressure from the CFO has changed or anything. I don't know if they're going to make any changes to the some of their bad financial decisions. Like they tried launching like $80 new games. That was a bit of a flop. The $30 Game Pass. I don't know if that's going to change. The
I don't think
big
that's gonna
question
change.
mark for me is the generative AI, or not
Yeah,
even just generative AI, but just AI in general. And Matt's arguing or stating that they don't have a directive from Microsoft from the top.
but that's I hear
Now,
that.
maybe that's
That's
bullcrap,
like a
but
perfect any kind of sales pitch. Like the key to my sales pitches when I would go and raise money, the
hmm
best pitch is at what point objections are popping up in people's brains when you bring up certain things as you start talking about your product and business model, right? Like that's that was one of that was the reason why I was so good at winning competitions and getting money.
hmm
My product kind of sucked, but I was really good at knowing like when that objection popped into their brain, I would address it then.
yeah,
And so to me, that's what this is like they know the objections, which is console, right? What's happened with the console and the hardware? It feels like Xbox is no longer in the hardware
hmm
space. Like number one, number two, what else does it feel like? You're bringing on an AI boss, right? Like,
hmm
what's the immediate objection? Dude, I do not want games. I do not want AI in my games. That is such a hot topic right
do
now.
you just don't want AI in your games, period, out of principle, or you don't want AI slop?
I'm just saying what people are the creators of Baldur's Gate 3. I'm forgetting their name, their studio name. Um,
Ladrian.
Ladrian. Yeah. So Ladrian Studios, dude, them just talking about using AI to help build their games, people threw a hissy fit.
Yeah, but dude, okay, let me push back on that. Like that meme says,
I'm not saying it's right.
but the people are retarded.
Yes. People are going to overreact here, but the point
I,
is you say the right thing. You
yes,
don't. You're still going to use AI to help build your games, but you say the thing,
sure,
right?
sure, sure.
And that's my whole core point here is like if, words are somehow so magical in our day and age. You don't have
Right.
to follow them, but like you say it and then people go, "Oh, okay."
Well, and it's like, I mean, I would hope that there's more honest communication coming through, since they, Sarah's whole thing was inauthenticity, right? She
Yes.
cultivated her image, and so then she'd be like, nah. I mean, she it was almost like she ran it like a politician, right?
That's very I'm one of you.
Yeah, and it's
I'm
like,
one of
I'll just say what I need to say to get elected, you know. But
you.
it's there's one clue that says to me that Matt might actually be authentic. So Matt has been criticized in the past of being too laissez-faire with the studios,
Yeah.
and um, letting the studios do what they see fit. Now, there's a couple good examples of this. 343 Industries choosing not to move to Unreal
Unreal.
5. They
Yeah.
chose to stick with Slipspace. That turned out to be a very expensive mistake, but he trusted the studio to do that. And his quote here says, "So we got no pressure from Microsoft. There are no directives on AI coming down." I'm a little skeptical of that in terms of no. That's a
It's
strong word. But he says our teams are free to use any technologies that might be beneficial, whether it's helping write code or check for bugs, things more in the production pipeline. At the end of the day, as Asha said, we're committed to art made by people. And I actually think he is being honest about letting studios pick what they want in the pipeline.
Hmm.
So a couple things. So the Playground Studios, they make Forza.
Yeah.
Okay. They are also making the new Fable.
Hmm. I
And
didn't
they
know that.
chose to make Fable with the same engine that they used to make Forza. Yeah, kind of an interesting choice. Okay, so there's a history of the studios under Max Booty being able to essentially use whatever technology they feel is best. Um, so
Hmm.
I do think he's being legit with that. What I could see happening is essentially Microsoft trying to develop AI tools from the software side of Microsoft, trying to develop tools that then the developers try out and see if they're useful.
Hmm.
Because if like this could, I could totally see Microsoft trying to bust into the game engine space.
Yeah. 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 100%.
And if they've got a ton of studios that's like, hey, try this out, let us know, give us feedback on whether you like this or Unreal more, and then they save a ton of money if it's an internal, and then if it's really useful and they've got all of the AI power through their investment in open AI, that like actual genuinely useful AI stuff like Claude is right now,
Yeah.
um, then you know what? Like people just start using it, and then they get to capture a huge chunk of that market. Like,
That's a really good point because they have so many studios. I'm amazed that they're not trying to build more infrastructure for the gaming space because in entertainment
yeah,
space and because it goes into that Unreal, dude, it's breaking into the broader entertainment space. So that's
hey, you've got in-house testers that are legitimate,
well,
and if you
and
don't,
the models are so strong. Roblox, Unreal, right? Like Roblox with their being basically an engine, and then Unreal Engine being like the Fortnite. Like
mhm,
everyone's trying to mimic those two models, right? The billions and billions of dollars just that model brings in, being more of
seriously,
an engine, a
uh huh,
game space. And so,
yeah, so
well, really
yeah.
interesting. I love this. I could keep going. I'm so fascinated by what's about to happen because they're the biggest player in gaming. They at
Mhm.
least in terms of revenue. I think
Yeah,
Tencent might be bigger, might be a little bit of
maybe.
nuance, but
Problem is that your dad's rich. Microsoft itself is just going to be, I think, larger than Tencent. But
oh yeah, in terms of a
like,
company, yeah, well,
yeah, yeah. So yeah, and in the end, it's interesting. We're talking about the last remaining customer facing piece of Microsoft, and that can be both concerning and promising as a consumer. But uh, I think that this will be a great topic to revisit. This is going to be very fruitful.
come back in a year.
Yep. Come back and hey, might even be 3 months from now, we're going to see, or you can do a follow up episode and kind of see, all right, let's grade our predictions.
Yeah, I see positive, and I love your positive take because sometimes I'm a little negative on this, and so I'd like to see, and a lot of times I do go positive. I'm like, I'd like this to come out on top. I'd like for everything to work out.
Yeah,
I just Microsoft has not shown me they are willing to take their hands off.
that is fair. Microsoft has made a ton of anti consumer um, type decisions before, pushing all sorts of crap that nobody really wants, but they can just try to squeeze little bits of revenue from people on Windows, on all sorts of stuff. You know, so I agree with you. Microsoft can sometimes just be the big bad.
I think if they can actually let Asha and Matt go to work and have probably more freedom and not be so financially squeezing, you can't go for 30% profits, right? You can't aim for
Yeah.
that number in the gaming space. That's just not, you don't understand your industry if you're actually targeting those numbers. And so to me, it's,
I mean,
you,
AI could change that if it makes teams more efficient.
but don't aim for that number because
Yeah.
instead
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
outcome is human capital. The outcome
Yeah.
is people, right? And I always
Hmm.
say human capital because I almost try to use their terminology because it's a terrible way to call it human capital. It feels so disingenuous, right? Like it's people, but like
Hmm.
when you talk about it, it's like the greatest expense of game development is human capital. So yeah, like
Yeah.
AI could totally help with that, but I just again it's like the hopium. Like you hope.
Yeah. I'm high on it.
I like I'm high. I'm hesitant though. So
That's good. No, I like this. Okay, so we've got an optimist and we've got a cautiously pessimistic.
not extreme pessimism, but just
Just a
I've
little
seen
bit.
it. I've seen it too many times.
Yeah.
I've looked into the data. I've looked at Microsoft and its history deeply compared to almost more than almost any individual just because of being a YouTuber. It's
Hmm.
like I just see patterns.
That's very, very fair. And and you know what, I I wouldn't say that those patterns would exist. So I guess what I would hope is that we're on the bull market of the pattern,
There's up and there's
and
it's
it's going to be cyclical. At some point, something's going to change. People are going to try to, even if this all works out for the next 5, 10 years, and then somebody's going to try to squeeze the fruit for all it's worth, and it's going to go down again. But
and that right there is the answer. Can they stop trying to squeeze the fruit and actually let the brand thrive? Can they
yeah.
let the brand and take some costs? They were going to let it thrive, right? They took some big hits, right? They went about Activision Blizzard. They went to go create something big, and as they're on the cusp with Game Pass and on the cusp of like bringing gamers the accessibility they promise, then they just start whacking, right? Increased pricing, layoffs, all this stuff. It's like you actually got to let your brand grow and breathe
Hmm.
before you just like let the fruits grow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah,
you planted them.
it's like picking a fruit when it's too young. You're gonna kill the tree.
So that's the mistake I continue to see is they can't let their actual plans go grow and come to fruition. So if they can actually let it do that, then yeah, I think they could find some success.
All right. Thanks, Cam. This is good. If you guys got any other comments, let us know.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. See ya. Peace.